So Xbox has had a lot of growth recently, and the numbers are quite impressive. But first, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and share. It really helps the channel out. So Microsoft's quarterly earnings call came in, and the numbers are impressive. Services are up, games are up, and hardware way up. But we're going to go all over that. So, gaming revenue is up 50% in the last quarter, which is really impressive because you have to think about it that with all these new consoles coming out and with the new services, getting games and all that stuff, it makes sense. But the thing is that Xbox has grown in a time where people said they wouldn't. And that's the point. So, Xbox content and services revenue is up 34%. That's Game Pass, Gold, games, DLC, all that stuff. And that's impressive. Game Pass has grown a lot over the past few years. Originally, they had about 100 games in Game Pass. Then they start putting in first-party games day one. And then the library just got absolutely massive with all these new third-party games. People are experiencing titles like they would never have experienced before. I know people that have played things like Wasteland 3 and Gears Tactics just because of Xbox Game Pass. And things like Yakuza and Final Fantasy games coming to Xbox Game Pass is opening up these fan bases and these franchises up to each other. And it's just good to see because, again, I'm seeing new Yakuza fan bases come up just because of Game Pass. And that's going to go and pretty much make the Yakuza fan base bigger in the future for when there's future games released. So that's cool to see. But all this money going to Microsoft and Microsoft making all this money benefits the service, Xbox, and us in the long term because we've seen how much money they've invested into first-party studios and content. So this is just going to show it works. And you also have to remember that these games still sell despite the fact they're in Game Pass. Games still sell a lot because of Game Pass. So this whole games don't sell thing is just a weird narrative people like to talk about, which is a bit silly. So, all that money will go back into Xbox Game Studios. And the thing is, Xbox Game Studios has grown a lot. A lot of studios consisting of multiple teams making games for these pieces of hardware that have just flew off the shelves. And we have to talk about it because hardware sales are up 230+%. That is just massively impressive. But the thing about these numbers is that it makes sense. They launched new generation consoles, and they are still struggling to keep these consoles in stock. The Xbox Series S, a console some people believe didn't even exist, this console is massively popular. It ranges from being this casual machine for someone that buys 1 or 2 games a year. It might be a machine that people buy just to, play Game Pass games on. But people can have this in a children's room, a secondary room, living room, whatever. The Xbox Series S is this all-purpose box that can basically be whatever the players want it to be. I've seen people put this underneath the desk, well hidden. And, I know we normally don't talk about this stuff, but apparently it's an emulation beast. So it just goes to show this little machine has a lot of uses. And Microsoft is struggling to keep these machines in stock. The sales numbers would be a lot higher if there wasn't this worldwide chip shortage, which, well, that will be resorted by the end of the year. And it's just good to see Xbox growing in a time where people said they wouldn't grow. I remember a few years ago people saying that Xbox wouldn't take off any more than they were in the Xbox One generation. I remember people saying that Game Pass would fail because people would stop buying content, when we know for a fact that's not true now because content is selling through the roof. And that's all cool. But with all these new next generation consoles out and all the services and game revenue going up, let's talk about Xbox Series optimized games. When these new consoles came out, people want new games to play. People want games that they already had that get these boosts and optimizations. Well, people are buying these games. A lot of the top sold games on these stores right now, or at least for the past few months, have been optimized games. And some of the optimizations we're seeing right now are huge optimizations. And we're getting news about optimizations for new games and previous release games every other day, which is fantastic because it benefits everyone in the long run. Next up, E3. This E3 is going to be massive. I can't even undersell it. Last year, in 2020, we had a new generation of consoles announced and released without an E3, and it felt weird. Well, this year, it's going to be different. You see, recently, we just found out that on PC, Halo had over 10 million players. And that's just incredible. Halo having 10 million players since 2019 is just ridiculous. And the thing is, most of them were new to the franchise, which tells me Halo Infinite is going to be massive. You have the removal of Xbox Live Gold for free-to-play games. You have Halo Infinite multiplayer being free-to-play. This is poised to be the biggest Halo to date because of how the stars are aligning. Yes, the whole Craig situation and everything when it was revealed wasn't exactly the best, but the point is that people are liking what 343 is saying. People like what 343 is showing when it comes to screenshots, concept art, information, and audio stuff. People like what they're seeing right now and hearing. My point is that Halo's growth, with it being Xbox and PC at the same time, with combination of xCloud, this will factually be the biggest Halo to date. And Microsoft normally they tend to go for this holiday lineup thing, so we have to talk about Forza. Forza Motorsport was announced last year, and the truth is that when you announce something like this first, it would tend to come out first. But we've had rumours for months now that Forza Horizon would be next, and there's rumours of Mexico coming. Now that kind of makes sense. You know, you have the long coastline and stuff, but their holiday is going to range from first-person shooters to potentially sci-fi RPGs. And I want to say this will be an E3 to watch. Xbox is in a great place, and it's all good looking forward. And that's it for today's video. But if you enjoyed it, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications so you'll be notified, because sometimes YouTube doesn't tell people when videos go up. And I have a lot of interesting stuff soon. I know I've been talking about this for a while, but if you've been following me for a while, you know that my channel, the way I make content, has grown a lot over the past year and a half or whatever. And the podcast. So the podcast information is dropping soon. I just need to fix some things last minute. And the podcast will be happening within the next few weeks. I have a good plan of what I'm going to talk about, how I'm going to talk about, and how I'm going to basically set up the show. And that will be weekly. If you want to follow me on social media, I am on Twitter. The Twitter will be in the description down below, where I just talk about gaming stuff every day. And if you want to recommend things to talk about in videos or new stuff, just let me know in the comment section down below or on Twitter. I'm always wanting to listen to feedback. And also, I'm going to continue the Enslaved Odyssey to the West playthrough, and I'll explain in the playthrough why it took so long to get to part 2, but that will be up hopefully during the weekend. Anyway, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. I'm out. Peace.